I'm gonna kind of lead us in some of the conversation, but please don't leave me hanging. This is a conversation. We're just hanging out, right? So I don't know how do you even start this thing. I guess this is how we do it. Hey, are y'all ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's
Are
go.
you ready? Let's do it. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome. This is the official start of our summer sprints 2023 at Foster Commerce. For those of you just joining us, which is everyone because we just started, we're building and planning in public this summer. And we're calling this building and planning in public summer sprints. And this is our first week. This is our launch week. So we did it. We did it. Here we are. What are we going to do? We're going to be having conversations internally about some of our projects, internal projects. And we'll be hopefully giving you some valuable insights and just how we think about things, how we're structuring about going out building some stuff, and how we do e-commerce development, really. So I'll be your host. If you don't know me, my name is Stephen Callender. I'm the owner of Foster Commerce. And I am joined by Derek Moberg, our new head of engineering, and Michael, our former head of engineering. Derek won in a thumb war and got the position. Michael has been dethroned. But welcome to you both.
Well, at least you said former and not old. So
It's true.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Cool. Well, hey, just so the audience can get to know us a little bit, I propose a dance off. And we can see who has the best moves, and then people can judge us that way. Or we can just do bad dad jokes and we can go that way as well. Or how about we just say, when's the last? Actually, I have a serious question, but it's a question I really have. It's not a serious question, but like when I've been doing a lot of swimming, so now I'm just curious. Have y'all been doing swimming this summer? You gone swimming?
Been doing swimming this summer, winter. I got with a wetsuit as well. So I swim a lot.
Because you're at the ocean. You don't do you do
Yeah.
pools or just the ocean?
There's a pool here in the urbanization, but I'd rather go in the ocean.
Yeah. I have not done any swimming this summer, but I do miss it. I miss swimming in like lakes and stuff because that's what I did for most of my childhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So tell me
So I
more.
live in Washington, right? And lots and lots of fresh water. So we'd swim in the lakes and the local river and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I didn't I grew up going to a neighborhood pool, but I didn't go to the beach. We lived in Houston, and beaches weren't our favorite down there. But I did grow up with a neighborhood pool, but I was not a fan of beaches. I think maybe because of had pools and stuff. Even when I lived in LA, I didn't always enjoy the beach, even though they're beautiful down there. But like I was like, I don't want to do this. Derek, I'm jealous of your upbringing of doing like getting in lakes and stuff like that. Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, the most fun, the one that usually gets people is swimming in the mountain water in the summer, because it's like fresh glacier, like fresh snow melt water. So it's cold, but we would like we would do the thing you're not really supposed to do too, where we would jump from high places into the really cold water.
Nice.
Now that I'm thinking about it as we're talking, I'm like, oh, that was probably not that safe, but I would still do it. I would still do it today.
Sign me up. All right. Well, let's leave the pools behind and the lakes behind, and let's what we're here for. So we're here to talk about some of our stuff. So we are building a few things, right? And we're doing it kind of building off what we did last year. So last year, Derek, you weren't a part of the team. Michael, you were, and Michael, you had a huge part in kind of thing what we were building last year. We built over the last summer a headless Nuxt2 craft commerce, right, e-commerce website. And we were doing it last year because we were leading a workshop at All which is the Craft Developer Conference, and it was in Brooklyn, New York last year. And we had a full day workshop that we were going to lead on launching a headless craft commerce site. And so we needed to have something ready to share that wasn't like client work or anything like that in there. And so we did that. So that's what we did last year. Anybody's interested, you can kind of see, you can find those. We'll probably share a link or something to that in there. But we promised, because Nuxt was in this transition, Nuxt 3 was out, but not fully out. I forget the exact status of where it was, but it wasn't ready. So we built it in Nuxt 2, but it's kind of like Nuxt 2 knew it was going to come to end of life. So there's a little bit more interested in Nuxt 3, but we weren't ready to commit to that yet, kind of based on where Nuxt was and based on where we were too, of wanting to properly get our hands around Nuxt 3. So anyways, so now we're here fulfilling a promise. And one of the things we're going to be building is the Nuxt 3 version of that same build that we did at .all last year, which is going to have some basic configurations and just set up for like a boilerplate kind of build for Craft Commerce. Still 4, Craft Commerce 4 and Nuxt 3 and all that. So that's what we're gonna be doing. And our goal, even though we're not gonna have the same pressure because we don't have a workshop to present, our goal is to have this done before .all 2023, which is in Barcelona this year, in Michael's backyard. And we'll hopefully have it by then. So that's our goal, right? Yeah. Do y'all both, should we agree to this plan? Are y'all agreed to this idea? You can tell how we feel.
Yeah.
If we get there, we get there. That's the way that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And our team, so speaking of .all though, some of our team is going to be there. So we've got, actually, I'm pretty proud of our team. So we have 2 others, myself and 2 others on the team who are going to be speaking at .all. So it's going to be a little Foster Commerce reunion as well, or actually first union for some of us, because we're a fully remote team. And so we haven't met a lot of each other. So I think there's going to be 7 of us there at .all in Barcelona. So I'm excited to be in the same place with our team and to obviously meet everybody else who's there. The 2 people that are speaking with me and others are going to be Matt, and Matt is our lead account manager. And then we have Chedu, who is one of our front-end engineers, and both of them have some really interesting topics they'll be talking about. So that'll be fun. So if you're going to be at .all, we'll love to meet you and see you, and hopefully we'll have something to share with you. So if you follow along, then you'll know how we're doing. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets, get your tickets, meet us there. And we'd love to meet you. So let's get into it. We have these ideas, our goals, right? To build out Nuxt 3 headless site, Craft Commerce, which is going to be the replica of the Nuxt 2 one. Not adding kind of new features at this point. We're just kind of a mimic of what's available there. And then we've got some plugins that we're working on as well, and that we're trying to flesh out. So we've got what we're calling a variant manager plugin. We've got something that we've currently just named as Foster Checkout. And then we've got Commerce Reports, which has been was promised 5 years ago, and is something that we actually have, but we haven't fully released it. So that's kind of where we are.
Maybe let's start with the plugins and let's talk through the goals of each plugin, so that like the 3 of us can all kind of be aligned, and also anyone who's watching kind of understands what we mean when we say like variant manager or Foster Checkout or things like that.
Michael, do you want to do you want to talk about what they are? Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, just going on the first one, the variant manager. It's trying to solve a problem that when we're building it. It's to solve a problem that one of our clients is having, and that is when you have within Commerce has a way of handling variants of a product. And that's fine when a product will only have like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 variants on it. But once you start getting into products that are more configurable, and one product could have, depending on the different options that I have, you could literally have 200 variants on it. That's when Commerce has a problem on the administration end of it, from the back end of doing that. Imagine going in and having to fill out, you know, the data on 150 variants for one product. So instead of that, what we're doing with the variant manager is a way for a admin to upload a CSV file, because we notice, especially with this client, they kind of work in that spectrum where they have a CSV file and they have all the different options, and then the end of it has a price and has an SKU on it. So we figure, well, why not just create an option so that they can take this CSV file or Excel file and import it directly into Commerce, and Commerce will generate all of those variants for them. So that's the sort of main idea of what the variant manager is in that case. And then of course on the front end of that, where the plugin will include methods to pull out a specific variant based on the variant's options. So if you set the series of options that are set on it, it will automatically know to pull in that specific variant which matches those options. So you could use that on the front end in your Twig template.
Yeah, for us, we've had, well, I was going to dive in and talk about the variant manager a bit more, but how about we talk about the other plugins a bit?
I was going to ask questions about the variant manager that you might have dived into.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the variant manager.
Yeah, so go with what you were going to say, because you might have answered the question I was going to ask anyways.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, so the variant manager, it has a long history, really. Even though we're solving it for the specific client, it's something that we've had a repeated pattern and kind of issue of like solving it for previous clients as well. And I forget which talk, but it really comes out of even, I think, my .all in the 2019 talk. I forget. I think it was that one, but
yeah, I think it was in Montreal, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was the Montreal one. And so it's this idea of our approach. So I think to back up even for, like, if I go super meta on this, is like our approach is we want our clients to be able to manage their content without having requests for developer, involvement as much as possible. So we really try to set up like truly content management systems where the content can be managed. And so that includes product content. And so the challenge with Craft Commerce sometimes is if you have somebody who, or a merchant that is selling certain product types, the way that Craft Commerce is kind of structured and the way it's worded and it's set up is you have multiple product types that you can set up, and they each have their own field sets, but all that has to be set up by a developer, so that if a merchant all of a sudden wants to sell a different type of product, so they say they're selling, widgets, and now they want, that's a horrible example, say they're selling shirts and now they want to sell cups, like the options and details around that, you might feel like you need a different field set to kind of manage the content related to those. And for us, we're like, that shouldn't be, we don't really want to like have to come in and create new product types for all the different product types. Like we just want the client to be able to, if they have new product types, just put in their products and create a system that can just handle all that. So part of that is finding like what are the most common aspects, like what's true no matter what about all the different product types, and let's build that and make it true. And so that's where we have to add this extra layer of our own thinking on top of Commerce, where we have one product type. I mean, sometimes we have more than one if it's like truly different, like, I don't know, like events or something else different, but at default, right, it's one product type in Craft Commerce lingo, but for us, we just kind of call it catalog, right?
Yeah.
And so in that catalog, you've got to be able to manage all the different types of products and their options, their variant options, and all that stuff. So that's kind of what we're trying to solve as well is, well, then how do you allow a quick way to, or I guess an easier way to then manage variants for different product types when they could all be different. And so Yeah, so we've got this really cool tool that we've been building for it. And so that's what we're trying to solve. And this, I guess the other piece, the without really showing it too much, like the detail that we have is like we have our own custom field on the variant. So Michael, you know more, both of you actually probably know more than it's like a table field or something. What do you want to talk about, like what it is? Like how are we storing the data like on these variants to know like if it's, you know, a green shirt that's medium sized?
Yeah, if it's a specific field that is comes with the plugin, and that gets set on as a variant field on the variant level. And yeah, it kind of acts like a table. We didn't use, you know, the stock craft table because there were some problems that we were having with it, and we found it was a lot easier and more performant if we had our own little plugin that did this. But basically what it has is a name value pair, 2 columns. And so in the example of shirts that you give, one variant could be, you know, shirt green, name, it could be color, and then the value is green. The other one would be, you know, color, I'll use red. And then another row in that could be on the different variants is, you know, size small, size large. And so with these sort of like pairings of name value pairs, that's how we go in and automatically create this table. It's basically a table showing the different options for that product, the name of the option and whatever the value is of the option. And since, you know, we're doing it that way, we can create these things sort of you know, dynamically, and that's how we're doing it with the CSV import. So if a column has, you know, specific, you know, this is, you know, an attribute for a product, then it knows, okay, we need to watch this and add it to the other to all the variants and a row for that in the table.
And so at that point, we don't have to create a field for like color and then set options for it of like, oh, here's all your colors. And so like a dev is not needed for the client to be able to set whatever color they want to sell at any point. We don't have to configure that for them.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. Derek, did that answer what your questions you had on it?
That was exactly what I was going to get at, because I felt like that was an important part of the story of like, this also solves the way that we think about of variants and stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited. Honestly, if I'm dreaming big about this thing too, because there's pieces of it, the MVP, what we're currently building, it's wonderful. It's great. It's got the utility to be able to, you know, have a central place where you're uploading a CSV and you can manage all the products from like one screen type of a thing. So that's gonna be super handy. But the piece that I'm somewhat interested in, and I don't think we're gonna do it this summer, so it's probably not worth talking about, but I'll just talk about it anyway, is the idea of like those, like of being able to manage, let's say like those attribute the attributes themselves, like, so like color, right? So we say like, all right, the color stuff, being able to say, we want this on the front end to have a certain UI display. So we want it to be like text buttons, or we want it to be a swatch, or we want it to be something else. But like that color it's got some metadata around it, you know, so anytime it's used anywhere, like we can say, hey, anytime this option of color appears on a product, this is how we want that to display on the front end. And so there's information about it. Okay, so then that color blue, then we need to pick a blue color attached to it. So even the values then have metadata on them as well. So it's like metadata on the attribute itself, the color, and then on the options, the attribute options, you know, blue. And so we've done that on a site where we used channels, craft channels, to like set, you know, different pieces. We even had like SKU parts. So like if you had a blue shirt, and we'd name it like a SKU part, so they would automatically build the SKU if the client wanted that, you know, in the variant maker, like stuff that we had. It was like a variant maker, not variant manager type thing. And that was what my .all talk was actually a bit about. And so those details, if anybody's interested in that, I guess you can go check that out and see how the heck we did that. But I'm interested in getting to that point as well eventually, is like where you can almost have manufacturer kind of level things. So like if a certain manufacturer and brand that you sell has a certain material for its furniture, for example, then you can input that separately into craft in a certain way, and then just apply that to those products in a way, and then we kind of have it all hooked up. So that's getting super advanced, but that's where, for me, is the dream of where we could eventually be. Um, and yeah, so that's Variant Manager.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
but
another one of the things is that we're kind of like looking and thinking about right now is we're tackling sort of CSV imports. That seems to be the one. But another option is maybe piping, again, down the road, this is something that we wouldn't be doing now, is piping in that data from an API of a service. So you could maybe hook it up to something else that is going to be generating, JSON data, and it uses that to generate your variants. But that's a bit down the road.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if somebody has a PIM or
Mhm.
then we could use that.
It was funny. I was thinking like I had just made a note for something advanced while y'all were talking, and then Steven's like, "Oh yeah, way over here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." My post 1.0 thing I was just thinking about is like GraphQL, and like thinking about some of the places I've worked at the past. One of the things that would be nice would be like to have more information in the GraphQL queries than just like key value variant stuff. So like, oh hey, this
Mhm.
is actually this variant type. Like give it a name and then give it some like then you could have different queries for it and use fragments and things like that. Just from the other thing that we're building, right, the headless site, like those kinds of information are really useful in the GraphQL. So that's something we probably should talk about when we get a little farther on the 1.0 or
Yeah,
0.9 or whatever we're going to release this as.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, so what seems more helpful, like for us to even talk about kind of a bit, is like, should we dive into talking about like, so where is the Variant Manager and how far along is it and what's next for it? Like what is MVP? What is version 1? And how far along are we in that, and like what's left? Because we have done
Mhm.
work on it already. We
Mhm.
have it, Michael, you're implementing it into the site now, so it's working as far as
Mhm.
far as I know. Right, so
Yeah.
is there more
At
for us
the
to do on it?
Well, at the moment, right now, what we're using is speaking on the front end sort of implementation part right now. There's an endpoint that you hit where you're pulling in that data, and then in this case, we're using Petit View just to do, or we fetch it, and then we use Petit View to populate stuff like that, do the calculations in this site. The thing on the front end that we would like to do is more of a little more twig oriented, which actual a twig tag that would be able to fetch that data. That is something that still needs to be built out on it for the like minimum viable product of it. The import is working correctly. We just need to do some tweaks on some of the UI and UX of the import itself. So error checking, make sure if you try to import a CSV that has columns that aren't set up for it, or it's missing a column that's necessary to generate variance, like an SKU or quantity, then it will bark at you and say, hey, these are the problems. So that's the area on the back end that we're trying to finish up and work on, is more of the UI and UX on the admin for doing those imports.
Got it. Cool. So all right, so we still got some stuff that we gotta
Yes.
figure
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
on that one.
Always though, it's software. There's always more.
So
Mhm.
always more. Cool. So that's our Variant Manager. We've got other plugins. Let's just do a quick kind of introduction of them and not a deep dive into like the backstory. We can do the backstory later. So how about we just name the other plugins? Derek, can you name the other ones? Do you know?
I'm gonna let you name them because we rename the one and I always get the name mixed up.
I'm gonna rename it right now. I'm just kidding. Let's do. So we've got, all right. So the other ones we're doing are, we've got Commerce Reports, which, yeah, we've got that one. So we'll talk about that one later. And we've got what we're calling Foster Checkout, which is, to give it a one-liner, I guess, of what that thing is. It's a pre-built, um, production ready, essentially, checkout templates. It'll both be in Twig and in Nuxt, I believe.
We're figuring
first-
that second part out.
Figuring the second part out. Yeah.
Don't jump ahead. Yeah.
All right. So, yes. So that one is interesting, and it's fun. But yeah, that's what we have. So we're building these things, and we'll keep diving in. If you're following along, and especially you're here at the end, and you have questions, comments, ideas, whatever, things that you'd be interested in us talking about and kind of sharing more, then we can do that as well. But we'll as we kind of cover like the overview of things, then we'll be diving in and like actually trying to solve some of the stuff for ourselves and as well, and do that. So this is just kind of introduction a bit, and especially into the Variant Manager. So thanks for watching. And if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and sign up to our email lists, receive our newsletter, which we're resuming after some time off with that Commerce Minded newsletter. And there's several reasons you're absolutely going to want to do this. We're going to have tips on where to swim in Washington. Just kidding. We're going to have tips on where to swim in Spain and all those things. No, we're just going to let you know whenever we have another one of these videos. So you'll be the first to know. You will not get dad jokes. And then when you sign up, you will, if we ever share snippets on anything, then we'll let you know. And we're not promising any code that we're going to share. But if we do anything like that, we'll put that in the email. We'll clearly let you know when plugins actually become available, when they're available commercially, and any of that. So, and for anybody who signs up, your name is going to be put into a drawing. Did y'all know this? That if somebody signs up, so you better sign up. Your name is going to be put into a drawing. So at the end of this summer sprint, we'll be giving away one of our brand new Foster Commerce t-shirts, which we need to make. So we'll make those and we'll have a winner to get those. So sign up, follow us, subscribe us on YouTube, all the things that people do. And you do that, and we'll be here. And thanks for following along.